All right, welcome
Okay.
back to my 10th level Paladin. Richard August is here again. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Jim, how's it going?
Good and bad.
Yes, yes, yeah.
We just
Well,
had
it's
a
a.
storm here, so I've got a leak in the roof on Christmas Eve,
Oh, that's not good.
and it's Christmas
Yeah,
there.
it is. Yeah, yeah. It's Christmas Day here. Jesus is already squealing in the manger here.
Is that how you celebrate in England?
Yeah, yeah. That's how we do it over here. It's an ancient tradition. It's a tradition as old as the holiday itself.
Yeah, squealing babies.
Squealing babies.
So if you've been following on Facebook at all what I've been talking about, or follow one of my blogs, you know that I'm sick of the whole WOTC news. And that's really what I want to talk about today. We're not going to talk about characters. We're going to talk about something negative today, and I apologize, but I got to get this out of my system because everybody's getting this wrong. And
Oh, so wrong. So
there,
wrong.
you have these content creators, right, on YouTube, these people that have to create drama out of nothing. And so they just rant about a thing that does not matter. I don't care how much profit WOTC wants to make. I've got my book. I'm done. Right?
It's a
not
conspiracy mindset. It's this assembly, to Lovecraft it's a series of information, that they're assembling, and it's driving them mad.
Yeah.
There's
3 months
almost
ago. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna, labor the point probably. Go with what you go with.
Until 3 months ago, they were the industry darling, right? 5e could do no wrong. Everybody loved it. Even the crappy parts of it, even the bad players. Everybody celebrated 5e as if it was the second coming. And now one stockholder makes one comment about monetizing everything there. That has nothing to do with you as the consumer to start with, right? If you don't want to spend any more than you want to spend, then they've got to find a different strategy for making that money. And that's probably going to be putting out better content.
I also think there's this. So there's two things exactly. One, WOTC are desperate to be liked and loved.
Yeah.
The when we had the Haddersy outcry with Spelljammer, and incredibly quick time for a kind of organization of the size of WOTC and Hasbro. They responded to that. They were apologetic. They said it's not going to happen again. They've put in place different measures. They really are doing everything they can to appear to be the good guys. Now,
right.
Corporate bullshit aside, obviously no company that size is ever actually going to be good, but they are doing everything they can to appear to be it.
Right.
So this idea that they're suddenly, this hyper corporate entity that are going to squeeze every dollar out of their player base, that's clearly not how they're actually going to approach this. And secondly, monetizing the D&D brand doesn't mean you're going to have to start paying for every page of the player's handbook. It means there's going to be a lot of shit D&D merch on the shelves. That's what that means.
That's exactly what it means. Yeah. And people are using this as an opportunity to conflate the cost issue with, okay, here's all the things we really didn't like for the past 10 years, but we didn't say anything, but now we're going to say it. Now we're going to get in all of our anger. And make up your mind what you want to talk about. If you want to talk about the confusion with how attack of opportunity works, go ahead, have a post about that. But don't blame this stockholder. He doesn't even know what AOO is.
Well, exactly. And the thing is, D&D. You look at what D&D was in the 80s with the what was it, the D&D tricycle and everything, and the cereals and the plastic models, the actual toys rather than the miniatures and all of that sort of stuff.
Right.
We've not had any of that on the shelves. You see, I don't know what it's like in the US, because I think, Target has starter sets and unique stuff, etc. So there is probably more of a retail presence. But over here, you'll see a couple of, kind of major book chains maybe having the starter set, and possibly, that the Adventure Begins kind of intro board game, and that's it. And, you know, to some extent, given D&D's cultural ubiquity, it's not, that's, you'd expect more. And so, without wanting to sound like I am a mercenary person, because I'm not, and I, you know, I quite like parts of the kind of cut away, cloistered nature of the RPG hobby, and I'm kind of sympathetic to the people who are like, you know, we don't want all this kind of the influx of money and mainstream attention, etc. But it was going to happen, and we might as well get used to it. You might as well just accept the fact it's not going to mean you're going to suddenly have to buy 6 different players' handbooks any more than you already had to. Anyway,
I don't want to belabor Zach S's name because I can't stand him and I don't really like to say his name ever. So we'll just get this out of the way real quick. People are more upset about this than they were Zach S sexually harassing people during playtesting. I mean, how does that make any sense at all? What do you, if you, and I said this before, if you already have the books, you're already the gamer, you're already a 5e gamer, you can play 5e for the rest of your life and never give WOTC another dime. And
yes.
To get upset about something that has absolutely no bearing on your ability to have fun, while at the same time ignoring that people were actually affected by the behavior of this one douchebag, is, I don't know, it's inconsistent, I guess is the best word for it. I don't want to say hypocritical because they're not equal, but.
And I do think that has, to some extent, indicates how D&D has continued to, how 5e in particular has continued to grow.
Right.
Since, you know, because I mean, you know, there was about 3 kind of recurrences of the Zach S thing. You know, when he was first announced he was working on the books, and the twat crowed everywhere like he was the second coming, and then obviously when then obviously he continued to act like a complete arsehole because he was incapable of doing anything else. And then when finally it came out that what everybody knew, he was a horrible, abusive monster.
Yeah.
And so there was kind of 3 recurrences, and or to use a really posh word, recrudescence. That's what that is.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. Of that. But yeah,
we say
very
twat
little
in the United States. You say twat, we say twat.
Yes,
but I like twat.
I think twat. I think the difference of the vowel sound really affects how that word comes across.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound as offensive when you say it.
Yeah. Well, do you think? See, twat to me sounds almost affectionate, whereas twat I think has a real,
maybe
a different weight.
It's proximity. Maybe I think it's just proximity to the word. we both agree that pillock is a fantastic word, though.
Oh, pillock, yeah, hugely underrated term of abuse.
Anyway, back to the twat you were talking about,
sorry.
Zach.
But you're right that this has kind of solidified influencer discourse, far more pointedly than that ever did, which is troubling.
And they're all saying the same thing now, right? One person started the rant, and now everybody else is saying, have you heard the new drama, the scandal at WOTC? What scandal? Nobody was shot or killed. Nobody was hurt. Your wallet's going to feel it, but.
Well, I don't understand. Why is it now as well? What, you know, for instance, obviously this is where, you know, this was kind of where they were going when they bought D&D Beyond. Right. But kind of nobody kicked up a stink about that. It was clear that, you know, I think they're obviously going for a kind of more, probably a more controlled access. But part of that controlling access is probably to make it easier for people to understand where you go to learn how to play D&D. Because there's still no actual good resources for that, really. And, you know, I'm sorry, none of the published D&D starter boxes actually really help you do that at all.
Can I rant about that part for just a second? Because this has bothered me for about 20 years. It's my channel. Let me rant. for about 20 years, I've always hated this, and I'm going to pick on Robin Laws for just a second. I love Robin. I know him in person. I love him. He's the nicest guy. He's given me so much good advice over the years. But Robin wrote a GM advice book years ago, and I have to think that Robin is blessed with the best group ever, because Robin and guys like him, the entire industry. I'm now going to get off of Robin. I'm going to talk about the entire industry. The entire industry is really shitty at giving advice to game masters, because they act like everything happens in a vacuum and everybody's just going to work alongside you, and you don't have to deal with any extraneous drama while you're running the game. And only one of these videos, like I said, I've seen 4 of them. Only one of them addresses just how hard it is to be a game master for modern gamers, modern demands, people that are not well socialized, or who are coming out of COVID and want to socialize again and want to be at the game table, and they are used to playing for themselves. And these game masters now have to, instead of roping a team together, they have to rope 5 individuals together. And the job of being a game master has become so hard. That article came out about how there's a GM shortage in New York City, and that game masters are now charging for their services there. And I think that's really what started this ball rolling. Once that news came out, people started looking and said, oh, they noticed that there's a GM shortage too. I thought it was just me. And that's really where the fuel began for all of this complaining. And now WOTC made that announcement, or the stockholder made the announcement, and everybody's upset as if there wasn't already a problem in the woodpile.
Well, yeah. And I mean, this to me feels like, and without, I think we are probably going to lapse into that grognard thing of,
yeah.
Well, of course it's a problem. One, this has always been a problem. There's always
Right.
more players than GMs. There always has been, and there always will be, because GMing is harder, it's more taxing, and it requires more time.
Yeah.
So ergo, there's always going to be something of a GM shortage. But the second and major part is it's harder to learn how to GM, because the way nearly everybody gets into the hobby is being invited to a game by somebody who GMs, or invited along to a pre-existing game.
Right.
So basically what we have here is not a problem of there being a GM shortage, it being the way our entire hobby, and by extent our industry, is constructed, forces there to be a GM bottleneck.
Right. And you're echoing exactly what I've been saying for about 30 years, which is that the game master is really the ambassador of your game. They have more impact on people's impression of that game than the company that made the game ever could. So if people with bad attitudes like your game, that's not going to help your cause at all.
Yes.
We used to have a guy that would come and do demos for us at when I was working at Asshat, and he didn't even like our games, and he would openly tell people while he was demoing the game, I don't like this game. How did that help us? Why were we inviting this guy to Gen Con to do demos?
Yeah, that's a business decision. I would be interested in hearing the rationale of.
Yeah.
But
just laziness, I think. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, if you've got a competent GM, even if they don't like your games, maybe. But even then, I think I'd rather take somebody enthusiastic who got the rules wrong.
I think people are so used to getting into tribes, right? Oh, I play D&D. Oh, I play GURPS. Oh, I play Shadowrun. That they don't stop and think, well, you actually have a good social contract with your group. It honestly doesn't matter what you play. The 4 of you already get along, or the 6 of you have known each other since the 7th grade. How could you not have a good time with a game? That's very different than a bunch of people showing up for some indie game without a GM at a convention. They don't know each other, and they've got to look each other with their glassy horse eyes, fearful of who's going to say something that's going to offend the table. And so you have to have all these rules surrounding personal conduct. And these are conversations nobody's having, I realize, because nobody wants to sit at the middle and do a careful examination of both sides and what's going on. We can't talk about the generational divide because as soon as you do, you sound like you're saying one's good and one's bad. And I think everybody's bad. So, how do you even have this conversation on a big scale like these fear mongers are doing on YouTube when they're just echoing some sentiment that probably isn't true?
Well, and I mean, what's really happening, I think, a lot of the time is these are the same conversations and fears and anxieties that happened around, when I was first in the hobby. There were people going on about how Wizards was exploiting D&D and was driving the old guard out of the hobby, and new people didn't know what was going on, and it was all going to die, and they were killing D&D, and that that led to third edition, and guess what? It sold 1 million copies, and then everybody thought, well, this is now how the hobby will be forever. And then fourth edition came out, and they've ruined it. They're killing the hobby. Nobody's ever going to play it anymore. D&D's dead. It's these things are cyclical. They come and go. I think what's new, excuse me, is one, the prevalence and popularity of, I mean, Jesus, imagine 15 years ago thinking that D&D could sustain 20 plus YouTube influencers.
Right. Right.
That's a head fuck in itself. And now, and then I kind of wanted to avoid Critical Role because I think they're a different conversation. But there is a big part of that, is that people are drawn into the hobby increasingly by seeing it played outside of its actual, outside of its kind of natural habitat, which is somebody's home or a games club. They're now seeing it in these kind of squeaky clean, beautifully shot, videos with very, very talented voice actors and comedians who, some of them probably some of the time have a script. The GM almost certainly does. And they're trained to improvise. And the messiness of the hobby and of the actual process of role playing is exacerbated, I think, if you're new. And it becomes easier then to kind of to spin out these fantasies of, there's no GMs, the hobby's dying, or the hobby's broken because of one thing or another, none of which is actually true in and of itself. But there are lots of kind of, discontinuous pieces of data which you can spin as a kind of spin into something of a conspiracy. And it feels like conspiratorial thinking, some of this, certainly on the YouTube channels, this kind of this long thread of WOTC perfidy, which if you start pulling on it is, follow the money kind of style. You're gonna uncover some mass thing, as opposed to a company deciding it wants to make some more money on the game it's best known for.
I think this idea that you can't.
Long rant.
No, it was good. It was a good rant, and you made me think of the fact that Critical Role looks like Hollywood Squares to me. I don't know if you got that in England, but Hollywood Squares was a 70s game show. It was a 70s game show, and you get the perfect shot in on Paul Lynn as he gives his carefully prepared answer to the question. And nothing about it ever felt real, but it was funny. It was fun to watch. But I think of Hollywood Squares was promoting a home game, and they wanted the sales of the home game to be bigger than the sales of the TV show. The formats don't match. They don't work. You can't translate that. And it's the same thing with these prepared studio game sessions of D&D, is nobody's going to be able to recreate that. It's actually not helping the game masters at all that these people are coming into Dungeons and Dragons thinking that's what they're going to get. And if you want to talk about a GM shortage, you certainly have to at least address that. You don't start there, but you have to address the expectations that are being built by external forces.
Yes, you do. And the fact that, to kind of come back to, again, definitely not attacking Robin or Robin's laws of good GMing, which is still to this day one of the better resources out there for GMs.
Absolutely.
There is,
Absolutely.
and obviously soon to be followed by your magnificent opus, Jim.
I hope. I've got about 300 pages of material here, man. I really
Can't
want to
wait
crack
see
this
it
nut.
all finished.
What's that?
So I can't wait to see it finished and get to pour through it, because I know you've sent me excerpts and it's really great. But what was I was going to say something then. But yes,
You
there
didn't
is
want to
still
pick on
no
Robin.
actual. No, I didn't want to pick on Robin or anything, anything like that. But there isn't. That book in itself is for people who GM. There isn't really any kind of. There's very little resource out there for people who want to learn to GM. If you pick up the starter sets, and I've written a starter set, so I'm guilty of this in myself. I'm certainly not exonerating myself. It's quite difficult to know how to address and how to inculcate those kind of habits, because it isn't really like anything else, because it's not a case of knowing the rules and just enforcing them. You're not, the guy who bought the board game and read the book. You are a player, when as kind of indie games or story games like to point out and make a big deal of, you're a player. You are intimately involved in the creation of the world and helping the characters, etc. But you are also an impartial arbiter, and communicating how you do that out of a box, or if you've seen Matt Mercer, and all credit to Matt Mercer, he is constantly on Twitter saying, look, mine is not the only style, this is not what playing the game is like a lot of the time, etc., etc. Just be nice to anybody who wants to GM for you. So you can't really lay it at his him. The Mercer effect is not his fault, I suppose, any more than it's anybody else's fault that Critical Role is enormous. But what it comes down to is you can't teach it. Really, it has to be experienced and seen and felt and understood, and once you've done it for a while, you get good at it, or you don't and you stop doing it. But there is a shortage, but purely because there's always a shortage. It's not it's the very nature of the beast.
I think if you get good enough, your group then gloms around you and you're not running for anybody else but that group. And when you're bad and you're trying to get better at it, you're gaming with everybody and it seems like you're everywhere. I think that is also a factor of all this. But I will fully admit that while I am probably a top 10% game master now, I was absolute shit when I started, and it took a long time to get better. And it took a long time of excising. I don't want to play with that kind of guy. I don't want to do all this planning and then have you guys screw it up in 5 minutes. So I have to get flexible. I have to start reacting to what you're doing. I have to listen. And then I started playing games that weren't D&D. And then that helped even more. Holy crap, they've got charts for this kind of thing. And Good Guys Finish Last or in Crimson Cutlass, I don't have to think on my feet at all.
I think that's, if you were starting as a GM and somebody showed you, random encounter tables and random adventure generators, all those kind of tables, I think you'd panic.
Yeah. You would think there were a solution, but they're not.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That all the kind of the tools we have as GMs, all of that require you to be kind of thoroughly grounded in how to GM, to use them.
Right.
And I think, really, we're just this has kind of come down to most of the people who've made these videos feel like either they're new to the hobby, which is entirely possible. There's been a huge influx of new people, and it's wonderful to see and all that. But these are problems which are kind of perennial, and they resolve themselves in the way that perennial problems usually do.
These people either learn to assimilate or acculturate to how D&D really works, or they don't come back to tabletop and say, I'll just go play World of Warcraft.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, that's the reality of how things work. The Romans the Romans were invaded every couple of years from barbarians from the north until they found a way of paying them off and keeping them at bay. You know, that's what happens. You have a wave, an influx comes in, some of them stay, some of them go, some of them you pay off, it moves on. These are, you know, these cyclical things are cyclical for a reason, and they resolve themselves. And then I think there's also the fact that these people, you know, they have to, it's a good way of getting clicks on a video. WOTC are awful. You know, I've got a friend, Andy Burdis, who does blackjack gaming, which is mainly a miniatures based thing. His thing is tabletop war games, and it's a really, really great channel. He's a very thoughtful guy, and he posted a video which is basically about, if you don't put GW in your video, Games Workshop in your video on a miniatures, you know, platform, you get something like 25% of the views you get if you put GW in it in almost any context. And that's the case here. If you pick a fight with WOTC, if you say 5e is bad or great, or, you know, the worst thing to happen to gaming since oh god knows, since the D20 engine bubble, since the D20 bubble, you'll get 15 times as many views. So it's an artificial outrage. You know, it's an ire designed to, it's clickbait.
But these clickbait content provider, whatever you want to call these people, they have a bigger following than most designers, and when they say something, it resonates. How do you, I don't even want to say combat, right? Because old Jim wants to combat this sort of thing and fix it. No, the entire industry needs to know what the truth is. But now I'm just at the age where I'm just kind of tired of the noise. You're not only are you loud, but you're wrong. And you're so wrong, and you're consistently wrong, and you're making the environment worse by giving bad advice or bad information or skewing things. How do you get a list of 5 things and one of them is right when you're on your YouTube channel? I don't understand that.
No. Well, I mean, that's just the nature of the listicle format, isn't it? That it almost doesn't matter what you're saying as long as it's in a list format.
Right. Well, it's different than me listing the top 5 chase scenes in movie history and nobody likes the movies I liked. I'm not telling you the ingredients that need to go into a chase scene. If I got that, well, you got to have a baby. First of all, you got to have a baby behind the wheel. What? He's already wrong.
I mean, that's, I mean, this is going to go off a complete tangent now.
That's all right.
That would be a great podcast. Best films featuring babies apparently driving cars.
Oh my god.
I can think of about 2 now.
Yeah. There's a
none of them. Oh no, 3. I'm up to 3.
Are you?
Yeah, Look Who's Talking.
Does he drive a car in Look Who's Talking?
Doesn't it look like, isn't there a scene where one of them's in the car and they're like talking about the driving?
I don't know.
It might be Look Who's Talking 2. Then there's Baby's Big Day Out. God, with I'm sure there's some kind of crane or something.
My channel has lost all credibility now.
And sure, Baby Geniuses as well.
I've not seen any of these movies. I saw Look Who's Talking 1. I never saw 2. I never saw Baby's Day Out. So you win.
There was a weird category. Yeah, I was sort of a kid in that in the glory days of the children being voiced by adults.
Oh Lord.
Era of filmmaking, sort of the early 90s.
I am a lot older than you, sir.
Yeah. I just have the anger and bile of an older man.
Right. If it makes you feel any better, I've always been like this.
Oh, so. that really does actually help, because I've been like, I was born about 45 with a spleen the size of a small dog.
Already had a liver condition at the age of 2.
Exactly.
Is it normal for him to grit his teeth and drink scotch, doctor?
No. Mrs. August, he is British, so probably.
Oh, he's already chewing on his own rage. Is there anything else left for us to say about this other than people get on YouTube and are wrong?
I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge that I think we recognize to some extent we're just screaming into the void here,
Yeah.
or, kind of concatenizing the problem and adding to it. But I do, I guess I find a lot of the discourse around RPGs ignores playing RPGs. That seems like so often the least important part of what everybody's talking about. And I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
It should,
yeah.
It's sent to playing the game. Play the games. That's what they're for. Then talk about them. Don't rage at the companies making them for reasons outside of whether the game's good. Unless they're, unless they're really doing something evil or something. Because at the minute, when WOTC are called out rightly, they've responded. And you've got the books, play the fucking game. You don't have to buy anything else from WOTC. Once you've got those 3 books, frankly, you don't need the GM's guide.
Yeah, you don't.
You could just buy 2 books and play forever.
Yeah.
You don't need to give them your money.
I'm going to say something that's ironic about all of this. And that is, one, I'm the crankiest guy in the industry. And I made a channel here talking about the positivity of things that we like about the hobby and our favorite characters that we play. And even this rant has turned positive here at the end, because we're saying those complainers are wrong. And I don't know what my second point was. I already lost it, but I had 2 things.
Well, it's the second one. Happy Christmas to everybody.
It's Happy Christmas, and if you don't celebrate that, Happy Nakatomi Plaza Day.
Yeah, happy holidays. I think we've missed the end of Hanukkah, haven't we? I think that was the 23rd it ended on. So belated Happy Hanukkah to anybody who celebrates.
Kwanzaa's coming.
Kwanzaa. Yeah.
Boxing Day.
Is it 10 days, Kwanzaa?
You know what? I don't know enough about it. I should know more about it.
Up on it. Yeah, it's a really great idea for a holiday. And kind of teaching different lessons on each day, but I can't remember how many days it is.
Should we look it up while we're talking? Kwanzaa is how many days? Google always knows what I want. 1 week.
Oh, 1 week, only 7 days. Okay. So
but
it's the holiday season.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's New Year's right after that, which is the biggest holiday for Koreans, at the very least. And that's my wife's culture. So that's a big day for us. Christmas is nothing here.
Oh, you see, Christmas, I'm kind of bored of all of them, to be honest.
I love Halloween. You cannot have Halloween for me. I love giving kids candy.
I see now. Oh God, no, that's an American tradition. And I'm glad it's celebrated over there, and I'm glad you all have such a wonderful time. But its exploitation over here makes me furious, especially as I used to work in a pub. The kids near the pub would come in and just demand money on the pretext that it was Halloween.
Oh my Lord!
And while I kind of admire the chutzpah that requires, I also have kind of it left me with some bitterness towards the act of trick-or-treating, which I clearly need to work through with therapy.
I love giving out the candy, right? Because as a kid, I didn't get to trick-or-treat that much, and just giving out candy is fun. But what makes me laugh about Halloween is people will spend $7,000 on lawn ornaments, right, and decorations and putting up their house, and then they'll give out 30-cent candy. And I just don't give it. I give out giant candy bars. Next year, I'm going to have to give out the 1-pounders.
Are you a full bar man?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get the king size. I don't even get the full bar. I go one step up. I get so you get the 4 Reese's peanut butter cups from me, or the 8 Kit Kats when you come to my door.
So presumably yours must be the most popular house in the neighborhood.
Well, we just moved, and the kids are just now finding out that I'm this generous. But the teenagers are really loud, so I don't really want them back.
No,
want them
no. You
off
see,
my
and
lawn.
yeah, that's the point of what. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You see, to the extent trick or treat caught on over here, it was either small kids, which fine, but
Yeah.
their parents would arrange it, or it was an excuse for teenagers to chuck eggs. So again, which to some extent I admire. I admire a spirit of unhinged radicalism, but it also just they're a nightmare to clean off.
My neighbor got egged. I didn't get egged for obvious reasons
Oh,
because I pay
I'm not surprised.
I paid the tax. But yeah, my neighbor got egged.
Yeah. Toilet papering is a big thing over there. I've always been fascinated by that. You don't really, I've never seen a house toilet papered over here.
It's cheap to do. I think that's why people it started in the 70s, toilet papering people's house. And I think it's just cheap to do. 1, 2, 3 rolls
Yeah.
of toilet paper, $1.50. And look, you've got an hour of work ahead of you tomorrow.
It looks, it kind of, it does create kind of an interesting visual spectacle.
I toilet papered one person's house when I was in high school. And I didn't really feel very good about it.
Oh, that's kind of, that reflects quite well on you.
I'm going to tell you, I got to tell this story. This is the funniest story. This is the worst thing I've ever done in my life. And it's a funny story and it involves poo. So I'm telling you right now,
Oh, excellent.
This is your trigger warning. This is a story about poo, but it's one of the funniest things that's ever happened to me. I'm at Home Depot and all of a sudden, that this happens. Everybody knows this happens. All of a sudden, no warning. Your body's telling you, you got a minute. You got 1 minute to find a toilet. Yeah, it's coming. And I hadn't eaten anything weird. There was no excuse for this. I'm just walking up and down Home Depot. And all of a sudden it hits me. And I know exactly where the bathroom is there. So I'm an old man. I have to know where it is in every business I go into. So I run to the bathroom and there's 3 stalls. One is completely covered in paper and water all over the floor. One is occupied. And the middle one is covered in cellophane, tape and plastic and saran wrap. And it's clearly this toilet is not working. And I luckily have a little tiny pocket knife on me. And I just start hacking away at that plastic. I am not waiting. I'm not using that other toilet. And the other guy is occupying. And I might have had 5 seconds left before I got. And then, of course, I do my 17 pounds of bodily excrement, whatever. I'm sweating my ass off. The guy in the other stall is still in there, by the way. I want to know if he's laughing his ass off. And I looked at the situation. I said, well, I know this doesn't flush. I've got to leave this for somebody. And I ran. I washed my hands and ran out of there. And I haven't been back in a long time. This was within the last year. The worst thing I've ever done, because I knew as I'm doing it, I've just made this somebody else's problem. So.
Well, sometimes, unfortunately, I mean, the thing is, you couldn't have gone in the other one, man. You can't go with all the toilet paper and the water and everything now.
Yeah, you can't.
You had no choice.
I did. Yeah, it was that or in the urinal or on the floor, because it wasn't something I could hold back anymore. It was, yeah. And my buddy Leslie, he's got an even better story. He was on OxyContin because he'd shattered his knee and he hadn't gone to the bathroom in 2 weeks. And his story is even better. I'll have to record it sometime on the podcast and I'll link you when I finally do. It is
please do.
A glorious story.
Sounds cataclysmic. 2 weeks, good God.
Yeah. He was on essentially meth. I mean, that's what OxyContin is.
Yeah,
and that plugged you up, but good. And then he was on it for 2 weeks, a month, whatever it was. I think it's a good place to stop talking about poo.
Yeah. Well, I think any conversation which ends up in you discussing bowel movements, you've kind of done the full gamut, really, haven't you?
Yeah. So Merry Christmas, everybody, with that.
Happy holidays.